Bonjour, salut, hello. Je m'appelle Cheb Semnil. My name is Cheb Semnil. I am very good friends of Mananok and Monsieur Bati. And today's video is just a brief explanation of the style of music that I play with Monsieur Bati, which is known as rhyme music. I've got my notes with me, so please forgive me if I keep on looking down, etc. I'm not being rude. Rai is a genre of music that originated from Algeria. The roots of Rai music originated in the west of Algeria, particularly in Oran. Oran is a modern seaport and is known affectionately as the Little Paris of North Africa. Before Algeria won its independence from France in 1962, the city was divided into 4 separate quarters or districts, as we know them as. These quarters were a French quarter, a Jewish quarter, a Spanish quarter, and an Arab quarter. Each of these quarters had its own atmosphere and music. In the Jewish quarter, musicians such as Saoud L'Ornais, Larbi Ben Sari, and Renette La Oranaise performed each night in the cafes and cabarets. The Spanish quarter was home mostly to fishermen, but following the Spanish Civil War in 1939, many Spanish refugees arrived, and then with them followed flamenco music and other forms of Latin music that formed an integral part of Oran's musical framework. The French lived in the best accommodation the old town had to offer, and they went to the Jewish cafes to try out Oriental dancing and some other types of things. In the Muslim quarter, Muslims were forbidden by the French administration to sell alcohol in their own cafes, so they crossed over to the Jewish and Spanish quarters to get alcohol. All 4 of these quarters relatively coexisted peacefully, hustling for their daily food, overlooked by their French colonial rulers. Now, we come to the explanation of exactly what rhyme music is. And a way of actually being able to explain Rai in certain ways is that we can draw parallels between Algerian Rai and US rap hip-hop music, as they are both styles born out of a strong local culture, which uses the languages of the street to express opinions about street life. They both value lyrical improvisation and borrow musical ideas and samples from many sources if and when necessary. Both are the musical styles most favoured by the dispossessed in their respective countries. They are used by the people who have little to lose and a lot to gain and say, and in both, when fame has been reached in an international context, they have been littered with controversy and misunderstanding. Like for instance when Khaled had reports going on about him in France about an illegitimate child, etc. We can find this in rap music as well, that rappers have been shown as being gangsters, and they've actually been shooting people when it's only really been their actual spoken art that's been in that way. Like America, a young male will utter the words, swearing words such as bitch, and they talk about weed and they talk about guns. Rhyme music is littered with tales of drunkenness and despair, sex and Hinduism, and generally Rai at that time was done by the lips of a teenage cheb. Now a cheb is a young and handsome singer. Khaled was known as this when he was a young guy, etc. Rai music in its earlier popular day was distributed on the streets by means of cassette tape. This was a way for Rai artists to make enough money to continue their art and survival. Other ways Rai artists used was performing at parties and also performing at wedding ceremonies. In the early 1980s, Rai began its period of greatest popularity and also became slightly more electronic, involving synthesizers and electronic drums. This was influenced by such artists such as Genesis and Phil Collins, etc. In 1986, Algeria held its first state-sanctioned Rai festival, and in 1988 certain artists such as Cheb Khalid, Mami, Rena Rai began to shine out of their own country in such countries as France, Spain, etc. International success was more recognised in the 90s by Khalid, having hits in both France and India, such as Aisha. Rai also began incorporating other modern styles such as funk, hip-hop and rock music. Other artists from Algeria began shining such as Faudel and Rashid Taha. The future of Rai, in my opinion, is a very confusing one to think about because it's moving in different folk lines. It's very much these days influenced by hip-hop music, dance music, reggae music and in some ways even drum and bass. In some ways, in my opinion, Rai is losing its passion for what it once stood for, and hopefully soon it can find its way back home again. Well, anyhow, I hope you liked my brief explanation of Rai music. I hope to be concentrating on certain subjects that I brought up in this in future videos, and also on certain artists. Thank you very much for listening. Please, feel free to write any comments, and also, I'm on Skype under my username, Packing Leeds. Feel free to add me and have a chat and send me a message or whatever, and I hope to be speaking to you again soon. Take care, à plus tard, and see you later. Bye. يحسن عونك يا قلبي صبور عندي زهرة يا المحنة راه هداتني